But right now, let's kick off this first hour really excitingly with someone from my past, from my tally past actually. He used to be behind the camera and now he's behind the radio microphone. Grant Findlay is also behind a brand new documentary around Radio Dunedin, which is the country's oldest radio station.
Yes.
Good afternoon to you, Grant.
Yeah, the station started in
weird,
1922. Yeah. No, it is a little bit weird. This has been a bit of a learning curve, having to do all this media side of things. I'm normally behind the camera and don't normally say too much. But it's cool. It's nice to see you. So
for that, Grant was one of the cameramen on Sunrise. We worked together. It's been gone for about 7 years now. R.I.P. Loved that program. Loved the conversations we got to have on there. And you carried on being an Auckland cameraman, and then you moved to Dunedin just a couple of years ago. And what was it that attracted you to Radio Dunedin? I mean, you were fish out of water immediately, weren't you? Or instantly?
Yeah, going down there, you sort of have time to think about things because, you don't have the traffic and all that sort of stuff. So I went down with a kind of a creative, a new creative lease on life. And right on my doorstep there was this old school station that was true to the community and to just... it's like it is a little bit like stepping
community
back.
Radio station.
Yeah. It is like stepping back in time a little bit, and so I just thought it was fascinating. And pretty soon, I just started filming what was going on in the studio and the presenters that come in, and the connection that they have to the local audience, and all that just fascinated me because you don't get that a lot anymore, It's like most shows are networked from the bigger centres. So it was cool.
We're talking true community radio. What makes Radio Dunedin so great?
Well, I think the reason it rates so well is because it's local and people want to listen to local stuff. You want to hear what the man down the street's doing.
Yes, what the weather's like outside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's sort of the heart of it, really. And but not only that, which kind of initially appealed to me, there's also a massive history there. It's 95 years old now and, obviously 5 years away from its centenary. And the amount of hardships, it's the little station that could really, it's like...
Well, when you think about how many there should be, how many of these types of radio stations there should be, we work in the media, we've seen... the redundancies, the programs being slashed, the radio stations being slashed. They've managed to hold on.
Yes, yeah, it's remarkable actually because in the 1940s, the government effectively tried to, well, they did actually, they bought up all commercial radio stations. And Radio Dunedin, it was called 4XD back then, sailed under the radar of that because they were acting as a club at the time, an association. So it was like they were sort of, they were little kids in a big pond even back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they weren't advertising, which was the key. So that's why the government kind of left them alone a little bit.
Station.
Yeah. So
they weren't making money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, they were making it just enough to keep afloat. They broadcast the TAB race meets and donations from the church. They had religious programming on Sundays, and people thought it was a religious station because every time they turned on the radio, there was this religious programming. But that was just their income. They got donations, and that's how they stayed afloat. Yeah. Fantastic.
You had the Auckland premiere last night. How did that go?
Oh, it was great. It was really cool. Yeah, it was a really nice feeling to bring it up to Auckland actually, because it is quite. Like people think it's a Dunedin story, but it's sort of universal.
It's a New Zealand story.
Yeah. And there's universal themes in it. And our Auckland audience last night actually really, I think they laughed a lot more than even our Dunedin audience because maybe it is a bit more removed for them, and they sort of saw a bit more of the quirky aspect of this sort of station, which,
I bet if there were some radio producers in the screening last night that they will be starting to try and implement some of these little quirky little things. We'll have garage sales on the radio and all that kind of thing.
The buy, sell and swap and the pet line, yeah.
Hey, let's take a little listen because we've got a clip. Saskia.
Please.
It's the oldest radio station in New Zealand. It wasn't the first to start, but it's, as the BBC said once, it's the longest lived.
Radio Dunedin consistently is at the top of or very near the top of the polls.
If they said they were going to be anywhere, there would be a crowd. We could give away a trip to Vanuatu and have no one show up these days.
They've got 3 iconic broadcasters.
A very good morning to you, Prime Minister.
And today we're featuring Blondie. They're an American rock band founded by singer Debbie Harry.
4 couples to join me at 12:30. That's when we all start dining.
We used to have a bit of a laugh at Radio Dunedin. A good laugh, at how this radio station survived.
It's time for...
Radio Dunedin weather.
Shut up.
Its success locally is because it's local.
And I think that's why people listen to Radio Dunedin.
It's part of the city, it's part of community, it's a friend to the lonely.
I want to buy some soft teddy bears. The white, the ones that have got clothes on.
May I ask what for?
The station has faced many, many difficulties over the years, and I'm surprised it's still going.
Our treasurer took $30,000 out of her bank account. The young schoolboy, he went up there one night with some exercise books, a can of petrol.
Up she went.
Oh, look, it sounds fantastic. You must be so proud, Grant, that you've actually got it off the ground. It's actually screening at Rialto.
Yeah, no, it's a really surreal feeling, actually, because it's a true independent documentary. Like we've got no film studio behind us. We've got no funding, effectively. We got a little bit of money from the DCC to pay for some music rights, but everyone has pretty much worked for free. I got my mate Sarah Rowan, who used to work on Campbell Live with me to cut it for me, and my mate Ryan Ingalls, who I've known since university. So yeah, like the station, we've just all done it out of love, really. And I don't know, we just probably naively we thought, let's give it a go. Two and a half years later, it's finally got somewhere. So yeah, we're really proud.
As you just experienced in our break coming into this, and my executive producer John Budge, who's been in radio for a wee while now, and he comes in and he says, do you know this person? Did you know that? You're going to get that now, aren't you? Like people are going to say, you should have spoken to X, Y, Z. I mean, people will come out of the woodwork that have all had their spots on a Sunday afternoon on Radio Dunedin.
Oh, definitely. It's so hard to
narrow it down.
Yeah, and to sort of do everyone's part in this process justice, because 95 years old, there's so many people that have been part of the station over the years. So yeah, it's kind of like it's the history condensed into 75 minutes, but also with modern day dramas, and it's still fighting for its survival. It's like, with the networking of stations from the bigger centres, a station like this doesn't really exist anymore. So yeah, it's tough work, and you've got to pay the bills still. What
are you hoping to achieve from this? I mean, obviously it's your passion project, it's on the big screen, but what do you think will be the bigger picture here? Well, I mean, I think awareness?
It's yeah, I guess so. I mean, I just, you kind of want to just entertain people, like that's why you go to the movies, really. So I think people will just find a nice, charming story about, something you don't normally get to see behind the scenes of, really. I mean, I guess these days with all the cameras and Facebook Lives and all that stuff, you do see a bit more of behind the scenes of radio.
It's still a novelty, isn't it? Some of my guests today said, I should have brought my kids in. They really wanted to come in and see it. We forget working in this industry that it's novelty. So you're a bit of a fly on the wall.
Exactly, yeah. No, but it's also, because it's so kind of old school, it's still old school radio, It's like, it's even one step removed from, what like this situation, we've got a beautiful new flash studio and all that stuff.
Spaceship in here.
Yeah, it's not like that down there.
There are way too many buttons.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that could not end up on the cutting room floor? I mean, I've only seen the trailer. I haven't seen the full thing. But I loved the bit just there that you would have heard of the woman ringing up saying, "I'm after some teddy bears, the ones with clothes on," and the very astute announcer says, could I ask what for?
Yeah.
You know, that's a highlight for me.
Yeah, the buy, sell and swap was my favourite. I love it.
And this is 2016 buy, sell and swap,
Exactly.
isn't it? It's
It's still going. It's still going, yeah. And you can't do that on, national shows because you've got, someone in Invercargill ringing up and I guess you probably could now, with the
Watch
with the
this
mail.
space, listeners.
Let's get it on. Yeah. Yeah, so that stuff was really cool and just, like, I know there's some parts throughout the history that you really have to cover. Like one time, this schoolboy, when the station came on air, it took out his Christchurch signal that he was listening to this sort of younger station, and when Radio Dunedin flicked on their transmitter, it would blow out his station. This was in like the 80s, I think, and he got so annoyed with this that he went up there one night with his school papers, threw them in the shed in the transmitter. Put in some petrol, burn the place down.
Gone.
Yeah. He was that angry. So yeah, it really brings out the passion in people. This station,
What did the hosts, people that are involved, the people that have been involved, think of the doco? I mean, that must have been a nerve-wracking moment showing it to them in Dunedin.
Yeah, that was pretty scary. I've put so much of myself into this. So yeah, that was a big moment, and I was a little bit worried as to how they would think, they came across, because, but everyone loved it, and quite a few of the announcers have gone, 2-3 times, so
and
that's really cool.
Now you're finding yourself on the other side of the microphone doing all these kind of really wonderful things.
Exactly.
2 more showings at Rialto Cinemas in Auckland this weekend, is that right?
Yep, we've got 5 p.m. tonight at Rialto Newmarket and Sunday 4 p.m. and then we've gone from Auckland, but we're still playing in Dunedin.
Okay, so where can we find out more if you're sitting in Christchurch right now and you want to know how to watch it? How will you make it available, Grant?
Tricky question. Eventually, hopefully we can go to other centres. I'm looking at Invercargill and Gore next, I think. But because I'm doing it all on my own, I don't have a distributor. I've sort of got to ring up the cinema and say, hey, do you want to play this?
If you'd like to help Grant out on that front, you can probably email him on his MediaWorks email address, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Good on you, Grant. Nice to see you. Congratulations. I really look forward to seeing the whole thing. It's called Radio Dunedin, right?
Yeah.
Radio Dunedin.
Yeah.
There you go. It's as simple as that. 21 minutes after 1 o'clock here on Saturday Fresh.